All right, Tucker, we're live. The third ever Lineup Legends Fantasy Football Show episode. How you feeling this morning?
We're in it, little stuffed up. I don't know why, but we're gonna go through it anyways. We're gonna go through all of week 6, the matchups today, maybe some good DFS plays. I'm super excited.
I love it. Okay, let's go ahead and jump into it. Let's kick it off with Broncos Patriots. Tucker, what are you excited to see in this matchup regarding fantasy players?
Not a lot, honestly. Not a whole lot. So the return of Cam, I guess, is the one thing
Yep.
you can kind of be excited about because you can play him again.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess Damian Harris. I'd like to see what Damian Harris can do in his second game. Out there. But other than that, nothing on the Patriots side really. Their defense, if you need one. On the Broncos side of the ball, it's the return of Drew Lock, so hopefully he can help his team kind of come around. But Melvin Gordon, I'm assuming probably not playing this week since he got a DUI.
Yeah.
Um, so I guess I'm interested to see that backfield and who really takes the reins, but not really. I mean, Philip Lindsay was the guy all last season. He didn't do much. And then I guess who they're going to throw to. I mean, if Fant's out, I don't know if he is out this week, but
Yeah, I'm not sure about Fant. I think maybe questionable.
yeah. But Jerry Jeudy, Tim Patrick, can they do anything in that offense against the Patriots?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think similar to what you said, I think the Patriots side of the ball excites me much more than the Broncos. Mainly Damian Harris. I'm excited to see, Sony Michel's still on IR. This is Harris's chance to really secure that first and second down role in that backfield. But what I'm more excited about for is he going to get more work than that? We've seen Belichick roll with, a first and second down back, then rotating Burkhead and James White in, White especially on passing downs. I'm excited to see, does Damian Harris get any action in the passing game?
Mm.
Is Harris going to be a different type of running back for Belichick because we know he has that 3-down skill set? Or is he going to stick to the 3-back rotation with Harris running first and second downs, limited to no work in the pass game? I'm excited to see that because we know last week was his first game back off IR. Could this week kind of be his big game that puts him on the map, or is he just going to cement himself into that first and second down role, thus keeping his fantasy value at RB4, low end RB3 status?
Right. I don't think they've had a running back like Harris there in a long time. Historically, Belichick doesn't do anything but committees. So
yeah.
So it would be really, really interesting to see if Damian Harris can somehow work out a bell cow role. I mean, because he's got the talent, he's got the he can do everything, run, catch. We'll see. That'd be very interesting to see how things shake out there. But my guess is committee as always. But
Yep. Yep, and I think on the Broncos side of the ball, excited to see more Jerry Jeudy with Drew Lock, back in the fold. And yeah, I expect the Patriots to win this one. Let's see. Check out the over/under here. Over/under of 46 points, with the Patriots implied total of around 28 points. So, pretty high. Patriots are expected to put up a lot of points here. I like Damian Harris to maybe get a touchdown. I don't know if they'll run him near the goal line. They like to use Burkhead there a lot, but I would expect, given his size, that he starts to get work there. So, yeah, I like the Patriots in this one. I'm not too excited about anything on the Broncos side of the ball, but yeah. Any final thoughts on this game, Tucker?
No, you got it.
All right, awesome. Moving on, let's go ahead and talk about Texans-Titans. The Texans, fresh off their first win of the season, taking on the Titans, who, after plenty of rest and Zoom practices, they whopped the Bills. So this will be an interesting game. It's got an over/under of 53.5 points, with the Titans sporting a implied team total of 28 points. So this one's expected to be decently high scoring. What do you think, Tucker? Do you think the Texans can pull off an upset here and get their second one of the season?
I think it's possible, but they're going to have to do something about Derrick Henry. They're going to have to do something about Tannehill and his production, and their defense just isn't great. I'm not saying the Titans' defense is great, but they're going to have to stop Derrick, and I just don't know if they can do that. But I am excited about almost all the players in this game. I mean, AJ Brown, Derrick Henry, I think is a great, he's expensive in DFS, but a great DFS play. I think he's going to run all over him.
Agreed.
And then, yeah, right. And then on Houston's side of the ball, obviously Fuller's a start. I don't know about Cooks. I don't think I'd start him if you can help it.
Yeah, I'm not trusting Cooks even after the 30-point game.
But Deshaun could definitely have a big game, no less. And then I'm really interested actually to see what Duke Johnson's going to do in this game, because there's been a lot of reports just saying they want to get him more touches. And I mean, if that's the case, he's an athletic weapon, so could happen.
And we know you're thirsty for running backs in our league, so saw you picked him up on waivers today. So I can definitely tell you did your research. That's interesting to know, because we know David Johnson is a above average pass catcher, an excellent pass catcher. So Duke Johnson coming in and taking part of that role away will be interesting if they actually do follow through and give him more touches.
Mm-hmm.
I think outside of that, love Derrick Henry as well. Jonnu Smith has been just on an absolute tear. I think he has 5 touchdowns in 4 games. 5 touchdowns in 4 games, something like that. He's absolutely feasting. I expect him to continue to do that. But like you said, I think this is going to be the Derrick Henry show. The Titans have a very weak run defense. They've given up the 5th most fantasy points to running backs this season. So just like you said, in DFS and in your season-long leagues, start Derrick Henry, of course. Pay up for him. He's going to eat. I don't think Tannehill's going to have to do that much in this game. I think I'm going to take the Titans in this one. We agreed on the Patriots with the last pick. Who's your pick for Titans-Texans?
Yeah, we got Titans.
Okay.
Probably not by a huge margin, but I mean, a decent one for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And just for the record, this is interim Texans coach Romeo Crennel saying, "We know what Duke brings to the table. We like what Duke brings to the table. Next week, Duke might be the guy who shows up more in the receiving game and the running game as well." Just throwing it out there.
Okay.
Just throwing it out there.
Yep. Coaching change always can make it's more than just coach speak. It's an actual coaching change. So, I like that.
Right.
This one should be a closer one. Titans favored by 3. We'll see how that plays out. But it looks like we're both betting on the Titans here.
Definitely.
All right. Let's go ahead and move on. Browns Steelers, 4-1 Browns take on the 4-0 Steelers. What is your expectation here for a surprisingly strong Browns offense in a game that is expected to be somewhat high scoring, a 51-point over-under? Steelers are favored by 3.5. What are your initial takeaways on the Steelers side of the ball?
So the Steelers, I'm very interested to see if Deontay Johnson plays, obviously.
Quick sidebar on that. He's questionable, missed practice today, but Wednesday is a popular rest day for Pittsburgh. Juju also set out. Deontay hasn't practiced on a Wednesday all season. He has been banged up, and he's questionable, but people are saying he's expected to play. He's more hurt than injured from what I heard. Took a direct blow to the back, but nothing long term. I personally expect him to play. Just wanted to throw that injury sidebar in there. Go ahead, Tucker, take it
away.
Fair
enough. If he doesn't play, though, Chase Claypool, plug him into your lineup immediately. I'm just saying, plug him in immediately.
This might as well be the Chase Claypool podcast at this point.
I love that, man. And if Deontay Johnson doesn't play Claypool in DFS, great play.
Yep.
But outside of that, I don't expect a huge game from anything like from James Conner necessarily. I think the Cleveland's front 7 is actually pretty good on defense. And other than that, I mean, typical Steelers fashion. I think Juju will have a decent game, and the second receiver will have a good game as well. Nothing really different from anything the Steelers normally do. I do expect this to be a really high-scoring game. Maybe even higher than what they have. I do think Baker will struggle with the Pittsburgh defensive line.
Mm-hmm.
They've been kind of a monster out there just as a unit, but I don't think that's going to stop Kareem Hunt. I think that man's a really talented ball player.
Hmm.
Just the Browns side of the ball on offense should be productive. I think it'll be really high scoring. So I think you kind of want to start almost everyone in this game.
Yeah, I think it's
What are
going
your
to be
thoughts, man?
interesting to see because Kareem Hunt on paper, obviously he's a strong play, but the Steelers are giving up the fifth least fantasy points to running backs per game. So if the Browns can't get the ball, can't get it going on the ground, and they turn the game over to Baker Mayfield to air it out a little bit more
Hmm.
against that Steelers defense, I just whenever Baker gets too much on his plate in a game, that's when he starts making turnovers, and that defense will take advantage. So I'm not super confident in the Browns this game. I do like Kareem Hunt to start, just given that he's going to be getting a ton of work on the ground and through the air. But just with that strong defense and Pittsburgh with yet another receiver in the fold with Claypool, a prolific passing offense with a healthy Roethlisberger, I'm taking the Steelers here. I'm starting their pass catchers against weak Brown secondary, whether that's Deontay or especially Claypool if Deontay sits. And I'm expecting them to put up numbers for sure.
Yeah, definitely think Ben's a good start this week as well.
Yep. So what's your pick in this game? You taking Steelers or Browns?
Yeah, my pick's the Steelers. I think it is going to be really high scoring, but in the end, yeah, I think it comes down to Baker. I don't know if he's going to be able to handle that, all that pressure from their D line. I do think it's going to be really high scoring and probably kind of close, but in the end, it's the Steelers.
Yep, I agree there. We're 3 for 3 in agreement, but yeah, I think this is going to be a fun one to watch. Fun divisional game there. Any more notes on Steelers Browns, Tucker?
That's all I got there.
All right, let's go ahead and move on to Ravens Eagles. I mean, this Eagles team has been an interesting one to watch. Wentz has struggled and now takes on a tough Ravens defense. How do you think Wentz performs this week? Do you think the Eagles will be able to get it going on offense, or is this going to be kind of a Ravens domination here?
Yeah, it's going to be a Ravens domination. I'm out on Wentz. I'm going to be honest. I think they should start Hurts.
I'm with you.
Carson Wentz has been horrible. He's been horrible. 9 interceptions in 5 games. Excuse me. That's horrible. And I mean, they're not gonna win games with him. They're not. They need some kind of different side of type of quarterback, and that's their backup Jalen Hurts that they drafted in the 2nd round, right? I mean, play him. he's only thrown one ball, and it was a dime. So.
Yeah, honestly, that is a bold take, but I agree with you there. Like, I think to play devil's advocate, who Wentz has not had his receiver. He's Dallas Goedert, Alshon Jeffrey, Deshaun Jackson, all have been injured. Jalen Reagor, literally, it's the same story as last season. Their whole receiving core has been hurt. At the same time, though, I feel like I've never been super bought into Carson Wentz as I feel like he got hyped up pretty early on in his career as this elite talent, like during the whole Pennsylvania period on that Super Bowl run that they had. I feel like he was getting so much hype, and I feel like ever since then, I've not seen it. I feel like people kind of still group him in there, because he was playing exceptionally during that time. But I feel like since then he's been a completely different quarterback. I think they do need to give him a chance to continue playing with his healthy weapons, because it's pretty soon they're going to be coming back. 1 week till Goddard comes off IR. Jeffrey and Jackson could return as soon as this week. But I agree with you, man. I think you and I are definitely on the bolder side of this, but I would have no problem with them rolling out Hurts there. But I feel like once they do that, it's a you can't really go back situation. So they're definitely I think they'll probably wait it out until maybe it looks like the season's for sure lost. That NFC East is weak. There's always a chance for them to make a run, win a few games, but once they make the move to Hurts, it's over for Wentz. I feel like kind of like the Trubisky Foles situation. So I don't think it's quite there with him, but I think you and I are closer to the Hurts side than the consensus.
Yeah, no, it might be bold, but and it's partially eye test related. Just watching Carson Wentz play, he doesn't look good. He doesn't have a good pocket presence. You put Jalen in there, who's been on several different college teams, so he knows how to adapt to new systems. He adds a running aspect, which they desperately need. You could run a lot of cool packages with Miles Sanders. I mean, I'd love to see it, but I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon, like you said. So,
Yep. And yeah, also on the Eagles side of the ball, Miles Sanders coming off a strong game that pretty much came from one big touchdown run, takes on the Ravens, who have given up pretty much nothing on the ground. They've given up the fourth least fantasy points per game to running backs. I'm expecting a dud of a game from him. I think people will see last week's numbers and expect similar, but most of that came on, broken coverage on one big touchdown run. Similar to last week's matchup, this one's not appealing for Sanders. The offense has been sputtering. I'm not seeing it with him this week.
Right, I agree. I honestly don't think I like anyone on the Eagles side of the ball this week. It's with Jeffrey and Deshaun coming back, possibly. I don't think Fulgham's really a great player or anything like that. I mean, I don't think Deshaun will really get open deep for that long touchdown that you might want. I just don't like the Eagles side of the ball. On the flip side, the Ravens side of the ball, I'm all about it this week. I think they're all gonna be pretty darn good. I'm not wanting to start any Ravens running backs just because it's a three-headed committee, which is just horrible for fantasy. But Lamar, I think Lamar could have a great, finally his great game that we all expected him to have this year. So this is the week where you really want to play Lamar.
Okay, I gotta pause you there, Tucker. Are you seeing this? We have our first ever comment from a viewer, Stephen P. What is going on? Do you see this, Tucker?
Yeah, I do.
All right, so this is a genuine question from a genuine viewer. Stephen P., what's up? I genuinely think you're the first viewer of this podcast. He says, pick 2, half PPR for wide receiver 2 flex. DJ Moore, Michael Gallup, Chase Claypool, Kenyon Drake. I want to go. Ooh, that's a tough one. I'm definitely writing off Drake. I don't want to start Drake. I think I'm going DJ Moore and Chase Claypool. What about you, Tuck?
That is tough. DJ Moore's got Chicago this week. It's a tough matchup. Who's Dallas? You got the Cardinals. I think I like Michael. I think I like Michael Gallup. He looked pretty good with Dalton. It's dangerous, but I like Michael Gallup and probably Chase Claypool as well. Maybe Kenyon Drake, just because they do have Dallas. They do have Dallas. I'm
out on Drake. But
I know you're pretty salty about Drake, but I think I'd actually go Michael Gallup and then Kenyon Drake in the flex. I mean, Kenyon Drake in the flex is not a bad position to be in. I definitely think he could get a touchdown this week. I think he's on the uphill trend for touchdowns. So maybe Gallup Drake. I don't really like DJ Moore this year in general. I don't think he's been productive, but
Stephen P says he's salty about Drake too. I think we're just gonna differ here. I think if Deontay doesn't play, absolutely play Claypool, but at the same time, the Browns have a terrible pass defense, so they're giving up a ton of fantasy points to wide receivers. So I'm tempted to go Claypool either way, but I might have that recency bias going on. But DJ Moore again has a tough matchup, but I feel like the drop from DJ Moore down to a Dalton-led Michael Gallup is decently sized. So my picks are Moore and Claypool. Tucker's going Gallup and Drake. All of them have pretty good reasons. So I think that one's up to you, Stephen P. It's not like you can make a dumb decision no matter what you do. Kyler runs it in every time they get near the goal line. Yeah, frustrating. And Drake just hasn't looked good either. But Stephen P., thanks for commenting. Smash that subscribe button. Be our first how do you just got this? We are our 2 subscribers. So Stephen, go ahead and subscribe. Thanks for commenting. We appreciate it. Share it with your friends. We're going to continue talking about this Ravens game. Yeah, I agree with you there with the Ravens backfield. I think it might just stay this way all season. Like Ingram, Gus Edwards, and Dobbins are just neither of them are going to be reliable in fantasy because they're all taking away from each other's value, which is so frustrating. I just dropped J.K. Dobbins. I don't have the patience for it. If someone's got a deep bench, hold on to him. But I agree here. I think this is going to be Lamar's big game. He's had an average season. I think he's the QB 11 on the year, which as a Lamar owner is frustrating. But I think he has a big game. And I think he rights the ship here. And I think this is a big win for the Ravens. So I'm picking the Ravens here. It sounds like you are too. Am I correct in saying that? Okay.
Yeah, definitely
Great.
the Ravens by a large margin. I don't think it's gonna be close.
Yep, I agree, and that means that maybe Dobbins gets some extra work in garbage time. But I'm out. I'm out this year. I have to stop holding out hope. So,
I
all
agree.
right.
I agree. Get rid of those running backs. Dish them if you can, but if you can't, I don't see him as worth holding on to right now.
Yep, with you there. Let's go ahead and move on to the next game. We've got the Washington football team and the New York Giants. How do you pick a winner here, Tuck?
Uh, this is just a poor game. This one, I'm going to be watching all the games and probably not this one. I don't have any fantasy players from either team because it's just all gross. And I don't know. But, I mean, if you're really picking a winner, I think you have to go Giants just because I don't see Washington's offense even being productive against the Giants. And the Giants offense, whether you want them to or not, can kind of get going sometimes, and they can make those big plays that they need to do to score.
Yeah.
But overall, in terms of playable talent, I mean, I think you can play several people in this game. Darius Slayton. Honestly, Devonta Freeman's looked pretty good as a flex. Is not a bad play. And then on the Washington side of the ball, it's gonna be very interesting. Are they rolling with Alex Smith? I think they're rolling with Alex Smith, right? Is that the plan?
I think no. It's gonna be Kyle Allen. He's healthy.
Okay,
He's
back to Kyle Allen. Okay, yeah. Then I do think I like McLaurin this week. Then for a better week than last week, anyways. A little bounce back. And then probably Gibson. I mean, Kyle Allen checks down to running backs a lot. So Antonio Gibson is not a bad play. Yep, that's pretty much it, though.
I agree. Antonio Gibson's kind of the only guy I want on that, on the Washington side of the ball. I mean, I think it's going to be tough for even Darius Slayton to kind of have value in this game. Washington's got a tough defense against the pass, giving up the fourth fewest fantasy points to wide receivers. With that monstrous Washington front seven, I just doubt Daniel Jones is going to have much time to sit back and throw the ball to Darius Slayton and hit one of those deep balls. I don't want anyone on the Giants side of the ball. I just don't. I'm not starting Slayton. I'm not starting Evan Ingram, who had just that fluky rushing score last week.
Yeah, I'm not in on Ingram. Mm-mm.
No, I'm out on this team this week. This has a league low over under of 43 points. This game is
definitely don't see it being a high scoring affair. Not at all.
Yeah, this one's not worth watching. I'm not starting anyone on the Giants side of the ball. Devonta Freeman, if you're desperate, I actually don't hate that, but I think he's looked pretty good. He'll get receiving work. But on the Washington side of the ball, Logan Thomas, the peripheral god, he's not. I've wanted him to be what he's supposed to be, but I've cut my attachment. It's not happening this year.
You should.
Yeah. I've accepted it. Last week was the last time I'm gonna trust Logan Thomas. Thank God I didn't start him over Mike Gesicki like I was considering it. But I mean, I think Terry McLaurin, you can start here. If you have him, I doubt you're gonna bench him, but I wouldn't. I hate to say temper expectations, but I wouldn't expect a lot. But worth noting, the Giants don't have a great pass defense. They've given up 12th most fantasy points to wide receivers this year. Kyle Allen showed he could support DJ Moore last season, so I think you can start Terry McLaurin. I think you can start Gibson. Outside of that, don't you dare trust Logan Thomas. He'll hurt you. I've been there. Don't do it. Maybe you don't even keep him on your bench at this point. But yeah, I'm picking. We have to pick a team. I'll go ahead and pick I'll roll with Vegas here. I'll roll with Vegas here and take the Giants in this game.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Giants as well. Low scoring. I already said it. I mean, I think they're going to be able to throw the ball well enough. But as for McLaurin, one more small note: if he doesn't produce in these first few games with Kyle Allen, don't panic and go and get rid of him, because I do think Kyle Allen will eventually just start locking on to McLaurin like he did DJ Moore and just pepper him with targets, and he'll produce. I mean, he's an athlete; he'll get open. And Kyle Allen can't miss every throw, right? Like he will hit McLaurin on some of those, and he'll take it to the house.
Yep, I agree with you there. Don't know that we have much else to say on this game. Looks like we're still 4 for 4 with picks.
4 for 4.
5 of 5. 5 of 5.
5 for 5. Even better.
Yep.
That's good.
I think we might disagree on this next one, though. We have Falcons Vikings in what should be, pretty high scoring game, over under 55 points. The Vikings are favored by 3.5 here. This is the Falcons' first game without Dan Quinn. This will be an interesting one to watch. We'll see if Todd Gurley can continue his streak. He had 25 fantasy points last week. He had a great game. What are you expecting on the Atlanta side of the ball against the Vikings?
So on the Atlanta side of the ball, Julio is supposed to be back as of right now. If he is back, I expect a big game from Calvin Ridley, honestly.
Quick injury note on that is, I think from what I'm hearing, Dan Quinn needing wins kind of maybe played into the fact that they're starting to talk about Julio like rushing him back. I think now that there's a coaching change, I think from what I'm hearing, they might start to rest Julio, give him the rest he needs to fully heal as opposed to rushing him back in there. So we'll see about Julio, but continue.
Gotcha. Either way, I think Calvin Ridley is going to be good in this game. I think he's going to go back to having his big games. I was putting him as at the number 1 spot for fantasy receivers. I don't love Gurley to have another strong week. I don't think he did look good last game. But other than that, I haven't really liked what I've been like watching, and I haven't seen anything crazy from him. As for anyone else, not really interested, honestly.
Yep. On the Falcon side.
On the Falcon side, right.
Yeah. Hayden Hurst, I'm not super interested. The Vikings haven't been terrible against the tight end. But yeah, I agree with you. I think this is a smash spot for Calvin Ridley. Vikings are giving up the 4th most fantasy points per game to wide receivers. With Julio out too, I think Ridley is going to go absolutely nuts. I think Matt Ryan has a good game. Vikings haven't been great against the pass, of course. I don't think I'm really buying into anyone else on that offense. I think Todd Gurley could have a decent game. Vikings are middle of the road against running backs, but I'm not going to go with Hurst here. I'm not going with Russell Gage, unless maybe DFS. Russell Gage could be a good play if Julio sits, but outside of that, not really trusting him as a flex or anything like that.
Right. And then you flip to the Vikings side of the ball. Now, a lot of people are saying like, oh, the Vikings are going to pop off against Atlanta. And I do think that's true to a degree. I do think this is going to be an under in terms of overall score. I don't think I think Minnesota will score a couple times and then just try to run the ball a lot and waste a lot of time. Especially if they're going with Alexander Mattison, they're going to just use him up basically. He doesn't need to be preserved necessarily. So if they can run and keep on getting first downs with it, they're going to do it. So I really, really like Alexander Mattison if Dalvin doesn't go this week, which is, I think it's trending towards that direction. And their receivers are also, I think both the receivers are start Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen. I really like Justin Jefferson as a DFS play. This week he's cheap, and pretty typically teams that are playing Atlanta, they're having 2 receivers, not just 1. 2 receivers go off for good games. So Justin Jefferson, I think, is a smash.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Love Justin Jefferson in this one. Alexander Mattison, dude, I'm wondering if, I agree, they're just going to run him into the ground. I think Kubiak has come out and said, he's just going to plug and play as the Dalvin Cook. I don't think they're going to split carries between Mattison and Mike Boone. Mike Boone, I think, will just be what Mattison was to Cook, a few plays every now and then for just change of pace, give Mattison a breather. But I think Mattison could eat against this Falcons defense that hasn't been strong against running backs. On top of that, I think Cousins could be a good play here. The Falcons have given up the most fantasy points to quarterbacks through the season. So I don't see why Cousins couldn't be a good streamer, a good cheap DFS quarterback play. Yep. He disappointed a little bit last week against Seattle, but I think the game script was just a little bit different than people were expecting. I like Thielen and Justin Jefferson. I like every weapon in this Vikings offense this week. And on top of that, I think you could even trust Irv Smith here. Falcons have given up the 2nd most fantasy points to tight ends. Irv Smith ran more routes than Kyle Rudolph last week and had a season high in terms of fantasy points. We'll see. I mean, if he's going to continue his run here, it's going to happen against the Falcons, who have just been terrible against the tight end. So, in what I expect to be a high scoring game, what Vegas expects to be a high scoring game, I'm starting everyone I can on the Vikings, and I feel confident in playing my players in this one. And in terms of a winner, just because Dalvin Cook's out, I think, and has so much of the offense runs through him. Not that I think Madison is a big drop there. He just doesn't have that star talent that Dalvin Cook does. I'm going to go with the Falcons here to get their first win of the season. I think they have a really good chance of winning this game, even without Julio, especially if Todd Gurley keeps running hot. So I'm going to pick the Falcons here. What about you, Tuck?
Yeah, we do differ on this one. I'm going to pick the Vikings. I mean, I think it's going to be close and high scoring. Well, maybe high scoring. I don't know. I'm honestly picking the under just because I think it'll be a lot of run game. But I am picking the Vikings. I think the Falcons defense just is horrible. So
yeah, yep, yeah. Both of these defenses not super impressive. I think this one, I might say it lives up. I might take the over on this one. I think it's going to be a high scoring game. Stephen P with the comment that he picked Madison up off waivers. He must have been watching our waiver show the other day. So
love to see it.
Great to hear it. That's a great pickup. If you picked him up with Fab dollars, tell us how much you bid, because we were curious what people would be putting down on him. And yeah, I agree. He's going to be a huge help with Kamara on bye. That's a great play for you. I think Madison's going to have an RB1 game. He's very good. Even though he's not Dalvin Cook, I think he's top 3 running backup in the league. So I'm excited to see what he does. And I wonder if people, I don't think anyone's actually going to be trading for him. Now that I think of it, the running back market is just not strong. But this makes me wonder, whenever Madison becomes a free agent, this is going to be a game a lot of coaches look at for, who is this guy? Let's see how he does handling a full workload. So I'm pumped for Madison in this one. I think he's a great plug and play for Kamara there. So good pickup, Steven.
Definitely.
All right, so that's our first one we've differed on. I'm taking the Falcons there. You're taking the Vikings. Let's go ahead and talk about Lions-Jags. Vegas has this one as a decently high-scoring game, 54.5-point over-under. It's pretty high-scoring. Detroit Lions have the 3rd highest implied team total in the league of 29 points, 3.5-point spread. I think this should actually be a fun game. Minshew and Stafford dueling it out. Lions are finally healthy with Golladay back in the lineup. I think this one is going to be very high scoring. What about you, Tuck?
Yeah, I do agree on this one. I think it will be high scoring. The Jags in particular are averaging a butt ton of passes per game, and I think especially in this one, they're going to be throwing the ball a lot. I mean, it's going to be. Yeah. I think it's going to be a very, very high scoring game. I think a lot of players are going to do very well. There's a lot of, I think, especially on the Jags side of the ball, a lot of players you can start in a lineup this week, whether it be, Keelan Cole or your guy Laviska Shenault, or James Robinson or Gardner. I think they're all startable this week. Really, really excited to see how many passes Gardner's throwing this week. It will be different for him. I don't think he'll be in the garbage time passing mode like he has been the past few weeks. So that'll be interesting to see. Just game manager Gardner if that happens.
I am huge on Laviska Shenault this week. We talked about it earlier in the week. Stephen P, hope you watched our waiver wire episode. Yeah, I think Laviska Shenault's going to have a huge week. He's coming off a season high in targets, season high in catches, and season high in yards. And DJ Chark is looking doubtful for this week with an ankle injury. And oh, by the way, the Lions have given up the 8th most fantasy points to wide receivers. So if Chark is the wide receiver if Shenault is the wide receiver 1 against the Lions in a game that's expected to be a shootout, man, I would be plugging Shenault into your flex spot in your season-long leagues. I would say he's probably a great DFS play. And yeah, I think this is the game that really puts Shenault on the map because he's been getting used more and more in that Jacksonville offense. And this rookie class has been insane that everyone's talking about Justin Jefferson. Everyone's talking about CeeDee Lamb, Henry Ruggs. These guys have made these huge plays. But I think Shenault gets put on the map this game because he hasn't been making those huge plays that those other guys have, but he's been consistently performing, and those that involvement, that performance has improved every week of the season that he's been in the Jaguars starting lineup. So I think this game, I think he's going to have a great game. I think it's going to firmly put him on the map as a solid flex play the rest of the way. And I'm excited to see what happens here. I think he puts up 15 plus fantasy points in a great matchup.
Yeah, definitely. I agree on that. Like 15 plus sounds about right, honestly. And actually, he is a little bit more expensive in DFS, which is why I mentioned Keelan Cole. So Keelan Cole is way less expensive. I think DFS might be kind of catching on to the Shenault train.
Yeah,
but Keelan Cole, I mean, last week was missed for I think a pair of touchdowns. Just a missed throw by Gardner. He's been getting open. He's been running good routes, and I think we kind of all forgot about Keelan Cole because he didn't really do much last year. But the year before that, he was actually, I mean, he showed a lot of talent, and I think he could definitely show it this game as well. So I think he's a great DFS play, and I think you can start him in a regular lineup, weekly lineup as well. So.
Yeah, I think if Chark sits, I think Cole definitely has value. I agree there. I think he'd be a nice, cheap upside DFS play.
Yeah, definitely Chark dependent. Chark dependent for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. I think we're in agreement there. Tucker, on the Lions side of the ball, who are you starting?
Stafford, Kenny Golladay. That's probably it. Maybe TJ Hawkinson. I don't think he's a bad play, obviously. I think he could probably get a touchdown this week. So.
Okay. Jags have been giving up tons of points to tight end. They're sixth worst against the tight end position too. So I like Hawkinson this week. I agree with you there. You're starting Stafford. You're starting Golladay. Think you could get away with starting Adrian Peterson at running back. Jacksonville hasn't been anything special against the run, so I think you could get away with it. It's nothing exciting, but if you're desperate,
if you need to. It'd be interesting to watch DeAndre Swift this week, and if he can, I think he's been getting a lot of receptions, so like he can keep doing that. That's obviously something to keep an eye on. I don't think I'd start either of the running backs, but I just prefer not to start Adrian Peterson if I can help it.
Yeah, I'm with you.
I mean, he's still an incredible talent, but for fantasy, it's just not ideal. I'd keep an eye on DeAndre Swift though, because he could have a decent game like in the passing game.
Yeah.
So.
It makes sense, right? Coming out of the bye, they might want to get him more involved. Maybe they're starting to scheme him into some more passing plays out of the backfield. And then in a high-scoring game where they could be throwing the ball a lot, Swift is going to get more snaps. I like that. I think he could be a sneaky performer this week. I like him to kind of firmly cement himself as the 1B to Peterson's 1A this week.
Right.
All right. So in this game, I'm going to go with the Lions here. I know that's where Vegas stands. Spread is 3.5 points. So, they're not expected to blow out the Jaguars by any means. Who are you taking in this game?
I'm going to take the Jags. I think they just have more talent on offense, and that's what it's going to come down to. Okay. I think it's going to be a very offensive game, probably pretty high scoring, and I like the Jags.
Yeah, this is going to be a sneaky fun one to watch, I think. I love I want to see some garbage time Gardner try and play catch up. I love to see that. I want to see them air it out to Shenault. I think this one's going to be sneaky fun to watch.
Yep, definitely.
All right, let's move on to the next game. This one's going to be significantly less exciting. We have the 1-3-1 Bengals at the 3-2 Colts. Tuck, what do you expect to see from Joe Burrow this game?
A bad game. The Colts defense is very stout. I expect to see a bad game from him, probably a bad one from Joe Mixon. And then probably pretty middle to low tier for his receivers. I think the Colts are kind of just going to swamp him. He had a tough time with the Ravens last week, and this defense isn't that far off the Ravens. So I think it'll be a rough time for every Bengal this week, honestly.
Yeah, I think you're still starting Joe Mixon because I'm expecting a similar game script as we saw last week against the Ravens. I mean, they lost 3-27 against the Ravens, and Joe Mixon still had 8 targets. So I think if it's 2 straight games where he's been their passing down guy instead of Giovanni Bernard. I think if they show they continue to do that, which I expect, it looked like it was a pretty solid change in their, psychology with their running backs. I like Joe Mixon to at least have a decent floor in the passing game, even if he doesn't, get much on the ground with that bad O-line. So I think you're fine to start Mixon, of course. You're not going to bench him. I agree. I think Burrow's going to have a tough time. I think those Bengals receivers, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, I don't think they're going to have great games. I think this one's just going to be kind of a dud of a game. Just like a boring one to watch, sort of a Colts defensive grind, managing the clock. That's the game they want to play, running Jonathan Taylor. I don't see anyone having a huge game in this one, to be honest.
Yeah, I think I'd say Jonathan Taylor might be the only player I really want to start out of this game this week.
Yeah, I think you can start Mixon.
Definitely. You can start Mixon just for sheer volume, and he'll probably get some catches just because Burrow's going to be so pressured. He's going to have to dump it off a lot.
Right.
So Mixon, Taylor.
Yep. I think Taylor could have a big game with running down the clock. I think Indianapolis is just going to go run heavy once they have a lead. I like Jonathan Taylor this week for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if there's anything else I'm particularly excited to talk about. I think we can probably make our picks and move on from this one. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. It's not that exciting in terms of fantasy.
Yep. Okay. Well, I'm going to take the Colts in this one. What about you, Tuck?
Yeah, same. Definitely.
Cool. I think that defense is just going to win this one.
Definitely.
Okay, so let's go ahead and move on to the next game. We've got the Bears, who are surprisingly 4-1, which is just they're the worst 4-1 team I've seen in a while.
Yes.
They take on the 3-2 Panthers. This one should be actually somewhat interesting. This one has an over/under of 44.5 points, so expected to be very low scoring. But I will take the over there, just given that the Panthers, I think they could have some success through the air here. I don't know. Just that's just my gut feeling. Mike Davis has proven he can be a fine CMC fill, and I think the Bears defense might not be able to stifle the Panthers offense that much. But I agree it's gonna be low scoring, but I can see the over there.
I think it's gonna be right on the line. Honestly, it's not gonna be high scoring for a couple of reasons. I mean, you have Chicago who can't score. You have Carolina who can't score really. I mean, not against this defense. I mean, Chicago's defense is still very good. I do like Carolina in the air. DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson. Robbie Anderson definitely a lot more. Just because I do think he's Teddy's guy. Like he's the guy he's gonna be throwing to. Mike Davis, I think, should have another productive game. I don't see why not. He's been excellent without CMC. So really, Robbie Anderson and Mike Davis, I'd say on the Panther side of the ball are really the ones I wanna play. And then Allen Robinson, I think, might be the only one, and David Montgomery, I guess, for the Bears. It's not. I don't see this as an exciting game to watch. I don't see it as an exciting game for fantasy. Allen Robinson could have a very good game, though. He could. Yeah.
Yeah, this one's interesting because the Panthers have given up the 28th most fantasy points to wide receivers, which it means they're pretty tough. It's going to be a tough matchup for Allen Robinson, whereas they've given up the third most fantasy points per game to running backs. So I think that David Montgomery, we were just talking about this earlier this week. Now that he's secured that passing down role, man, I think he's got a juicy matchup this week against the Panthers. I think he could be running all over them. Allen Robinson, you're still starting, but I don't think he has any sort of huge game here. But yeah, that Panthers defense has been pretty tough on QBs, running backs, wide receivers, but man, they give up tons of points to the running back. I'd be starting Montgomery with confidence, and then I'm starting Allen Robinson just because he's Allen Robinson, and he'll get his, but it's not going to be a blow-up performance by any means.
Gotcha.
For sure. So how do you feel about Montgomery this week? Are you on board with that?
Yeah, I'm on board with Montgomery, especially with, I think most people who have him have to start him. It's such a depleted running back year. So I think he'll produce, especially if he gets that passing down work like we expect. I think he'll have a good game. Yeah, nothing crazy, but a good game. Definitely startable, like 15 points. Give him 15 points.
Yes, and I agree with you regarding Robbie Anderson, which hurts as a DJ Moore truther. Actually deciding whether I want to bench him for Shenault this week or Deontay Johnson if he's healthy. So, man, yeah, DJ Moore, I think he's going to have a tough matchup. Bears have been tough against the receiver, second toughest against receiver in terms of giving up fantasy points. So DJ Moore might be he's not going to have a blow-up game this week, not that he has all season. Robbie Anderson is probably the receiver you want to start there. Yeah, I think I'm in agreement here. I think Mike Davis is going to have a good game again. Bears haven't been anything special against the run. But yeah, I think in this game, man, I think I'm going to take the think I'm gonna take the Panthers. I really thought the Buccaneers should have beaten the Bears last week. I think a lot of teams this season should have beaten the Bears. I don't think the Bears are as good as people think they are just because of the record. I will take the Carolina Panthers in this game.
Yeah, I'm actually with you. It was kind of tough to decide. I think it's gonna be a tight one. But yeah, I don't think the Bears are good. I don't know how they've won 4 games, but all they're doing is ruining their chances of getting a quarterback. That's all they're doing, you know.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, that's exactly what they're doing. But hey, when Nick Foles gets hot, he gets hot. Maybe he gets on a streak sometime soon. But yeah, I'm taking the Panthers in this one. Sounds like you are too.
Yep.
Let's wrap up that game.
Okay.
All right. This one is about equally as exciting. You have the Dolphins against the 0-5 Jets, who now don't have their one offensive weapon in Le'Veon Bell. That was crazy, by the way. We haven't talked about that. Dude, Le'Veon Bell, man, where do you think he's going to go?
Yeah, breaking news. Le'Veon Bell was released by the Jets.
Yeah.
Where do I think he's going to go? Very interesting because I've heard a lot of reports that he might go to the Chiefs.
Yeah, that's what I'm hearing too.
As a Chiefs fan, do I want this? I don't know. It's not going to be bad for the Chiefs. It's going to be bad for Clyde and Clyde's value, but I think, I mean, he could obviously be really good there. I mean, he might be like a 1 and 2 down back though. I don't know that he's going to like completely just take over Clyde's role. He's not. I mean, in fact, I know he's not. We just used a first round pick on him.
Right.
But there's a lot of possible landing spots. I've heard a lot of different things between Patriots, Bills. I mean, it's up in the air right now. I mean, Stephen P has Bell.
Yeah. Stephen P, if you have Bell, you're probably feeling pretty good because even though I think the Jets they weren't even using him as a bell cow anymore. So honestly, I think that was the appeal of the Jets. Like, you would think that they're going to give him a ton of rushes, but they're mixing in Frank Gore too much to where it's like, all right, well, I don't even think I'd rather have Bell be on a better offense with fewer opportunities at this point. So I think the Chiefs would be a win for Bell owners for sure. Clyde isn't going anywhere, but it really kills Clyde's value. I think he would take a passing down role. I think
Le'Veon would definitely take goal line work because Clyde has not been effective on the goal line, which is like really, really great for upside. If you have Bell on your team, absolutely hold on to him because wherever he goes, his value is probably going to be better than when he was with the Jets. So,
yeah, I think Le'Veon could take goal line and early down work with Clyde taking passing down. I think that's like a very realistic division, which would, I think Le'Veon's value would probably increase with that. Clyde's would definitely decrease. I think it's kind of just like a scary fantasy situation because we don't know where he's going to go. But my guess is the Chiefs. I think Le'Veon, I feel like reminds me of LaShawn McCoy, which Andy Reid loved using back in the day with the Eagles. So I think he could love having that weapon. Edwards-Helaire hasn't looked super special on the ground. So maybe they decide let's bring in Le'Veon maybe on a 1-year deal. I don't know exactly what he's going to look for, but let's bring him in. Give Clyde a year to adjust to the NFL, and then see what we have in him. And then maybe next year give him the full workload because right now he hasn't been converting red zone looks, and Chiefs offense has kind of looked like it's they struggled against the Raiders last week. Maybe they're thinking we could use the boost. It's not going to be expensive. I could see him going to the Chiefs for sure.
Right. Yeah, definitely only uphill for Bell in my opinion, and probably damaging to whatever running back he joins.
Yeah.
But okay, back to Jets in Miami. What we got as an over-under here, Steve?
Over-under for this game is going to be 47 points, low-scoring game. Yeah, I think the Jets are favored, the Dolphins are favored by 9 points here. I think that's accurate. The Dolphins are just going to absolutely destroy the Jets here.
Yeah.
Who are you liking on the Dolphins offense?
Yeah, after last week's game, I definitely think the Dolphins are just gonna be horrible. Fitzpatrick is a great play this week as a streamer or DFS. I mean, unfortunately, a lot of DFS leagues know that as well. He's actually pretty pricey, but definitely worth it. I think he's gonna be great. Love Devontae Parker, obviously. Preston Williams is one to keep an eye on just because he had a good game last week. Not a lot of receptions, but a good game nonetheless. So keep an eye on that one. Gesicki, your guy Gesicki, and Myles Gaskin. I mean, honestly, all the playmakers for the Dolphins this week. The Jets they're just abysmal.
Yep.
And the only one I want to start on that side of the ball is Jamison Crowder. You know, he's been pretty productive.
You're gonna start Crowder for sure. Little fact about Gesicki on the Dolphins side. Guess. All right, I want you to guess what percentage of snaps he played last week. I have to know. I know the answer, and you'll be surprised.
If I'm gonna be surprised, I'll say 80%. 80%.
You'll be surprised on the low side what it was.
Oh, okay. Never mind. Let's go 40%.
48%.
All right. Wow.
He only played 48% of the snaps, and he had a really solid game. I think he was the tight end 5 on the week. So here's my thinking with Gesicki is he put up all those points in a blowout of the 49ers. I think it's going to be a similar game script against the Jets this week. To where, they put up a few scores early, and then it's just, they're chilling from there, just trying to monitor and maintain the lead. I think Gesicki could have another big game, because if he's putting up those points on 48% snaps, I'd have to think they're going to get him more involved. Like, he's really shown to really bring some juice to that offense. He had a 70-yard catch last week. I think that Gesicki could play more than 48% of snaps, and I think he's a lock for one of those touchdowns they get early in the game. So I love Gesicki this week. The Jets are middle of the pack against tight end and against receiver, which, Gesicki pretty much plays that big slot role in Chan Gailey's offense. So he's going to play, a ton of snaps at slot receivers. So I like Gesicki this week. Super happy to see him perform last week, because I've really been believing in him. Sounds like Stephen P dropped Fant and picked up Gesicki to fill in for Waller. Okay, that's Fant. You have Waller. Why not take an upside play on Gesicki?
I like that a lot.
I like that too. So I just wanted to throw it out there. I think Gesicki has a solid game this week, and I wanted it to be on camera that I said this, because I think he's going to have another maybe 6 catch for 70-yard, 80-yard game. Maybe gets a touchdown too.
Yeah. I mean, I don't dislike that take. 48% of snaps, and he's also running a lot of routes. So I guess he's mostly on passing plays, which is, a good sign for fantasy, But I had a point and I just forgot it. Keep talking, Steve.
Yeah, on the Jet. I just wanted to say that devil's advocate, of course, is if they get an early lead, he's not going to be out on the field. He's proven to only come out in passing down situations. So that's the Achilles heel he's got when you're starting him at tight end. But I'm excited about him this week. On the Jets side, you're playing Crowder. And that's about it.
Yep.
I think
no more Bell. Crowder. That's all you got.
Yeah, I think that's about it. You're playing Crowder, and I don't have anything else to say about the Jets offense.
Yeah, so last point about the Dolphins here. If they get a lead, they've proven that they're not just going to let up and just start running the ball and wasting time. They did run the ball a lot, I guess, with Gaskin last week, but they also passed a lot. They didn't let up. They kept throwing, and they just hammering points. So I expect him to do that again this week. Fitzpatrick's very aggressive, so they're aggressive with him, which is also kind of neat, I guess, kind of play into what he does best. So I think they score, they keep on scoring. So this could be very high scoring for the Dolphins. So play your Dolphins.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a blowout, man. I'm taking the Dolphins here.
For sure. Yeah.
Okay. Were you about to say something?
Nope. No, go ahead.
Okay. Moving on to a very exciting game. Packers at the Buccaneers. The 4-0 Packers coming off the bye to take on the Buccaneers, who just had a brutal loss against the Bears, in which Tom Brady forgot which down it was. Game has a 54.5 point over/under, so expected to be an exciting one. And the Packers are the spread is 0. So I don't think Vegas has a favorite in this one. So tell us about the Packers side of the ball on this one.
So you're playing your main guys on the Packers. It's a tough match. Tampa Bay's defense is actually pretty solid. But Aaron Rodgers, Aaron Jones, and Devontae Adams is back this week. I think you play all 3 of those guys. Devontae Adams should be especially healthy. He was ready to go last week, and he was telling everyone, "I'm ready to go." They don't want to play me, right?
He's playing.
So he should be. It's not like he's coming off of, he just got better. Like, he's been good for at least a week now. So I think he should be a good play this week. He should do really, really well, and I'm sure Aaron Rodgers will be happy to have him back. So I like all three of those guys for sure. And then Tanyan is obviously not a bad play. I mean, he's had 4 touchdowns in 2 weeks. Be very interesting to see if he can keep that going.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, I think, of course, you're starting the studs on the Packers offense. I don't know that any of them have monster games because you're right, that Buccaneers defense is tough. But, that Packers offense has just been insane this year. I think they all put up fine stat lines. They might even have, really solid games. But I agree, Tanyan, the Buccaneers rank in like the top 10 and against quarterbacks, running backs, receivers, but not against tight ends. They've given up the 17th most fantasy points to tight ends, so middle of the pack there. I think maybe Tanyan could have a big game here. He's probably who I'm most excited to watch on this Packers offense right now, just because he's either going to be one of those every week starters on your fantasy team, or he's going to return now that Devontae Adams back to pretty much irrelevance and touchdown dependence, along with the rest of those guys who aren't named Kittle, Kelsey, Waller, Andrews. So he's who I have my eye on in this game. Maybe he's kind of the juice that gets the Packers offense going against this Bucs defense, but I cannot wait to see how they use Tanyan coming out of the bye week.
Yeah, agreed. I think it'll be really, really interesting to watch. I hope he continues to impress, because this league needs more tight ends.
Yeah. It's sparse out there. The fact that we're even talking about Logan Thomas just tells you everything you need to know.
Let's be clear. You're talking about Logan Thomas, okay?
I can't move past it, man. I keep trying, but the peripherals are so good. So many targets, so many routes run, but story for another week. On the Buccaneers side of the ball, freaking start Ronald Jones. The Packers have given up the second most fantasy points to running backs. As far as I know, Fournette's not playing. Do you have any update?
He might be back this week. Let me double check for you.
Regardless, I think even if Fournette isn't 100%, which I know they only activated him last week in an emergency setting, I love Ronald Jones this week against this Packers defense.
Fournette is limited in practice, which tells me he's probably going to be active for this game. He was actually active last week, and he got 0 touches. Okay, so
it was an emergency active, though. They came out and said, like, we really are only activating him because we have no one else right now. He's not going to touch the ball unless we absolutely need to. So
they were I don't see. I mean, Ronald Jones was productive last week, so I don't see that they need to rush Fournette back. It seems like he's still kind of hurting, still hobbling on that ankle. So, yeah, Ronald Jones seems like a really great play this week.
Yeah, give me Rojo for sure. We'll see how it sounds like Fournette is going to play if he already has a limited practice. So the upside maybe is a little bit capped for Jones, but still think he's a great play. Evans, you're playing.
Godwin is supposed to be back this week as well.
Yeah, that'll be exciting. I can't wait to see Brady playing with Godwin and Evans, maybe at like full strength with this Buccaneers offense for the first time this year. I think this game is going to be so much fun to watch. Yeah. I just can't wait for this one. So, yeah, I think I'm excited about Rojo, the receivers. How do you feel about starting Tom Brady this week?
Not bad, honestly. He threw like 1 billion touchdowns last week. And I'm not going to say he's going to have another 5 TD performance. But I mean, the Packers defense isn't crazy or anything. I think he could have a really, really good game. And I mean, I think I'd take, Fitzpatrick over Tom Brady, probably Kirk Cousins over Tom Brady this week. But Brady's a good start.
Yeah, I think with Godwin back, I think that can only help Brady. Don't hate him as a start this week in a game that should be pretty high scoring. So yep. I like the Packers in this one. They're not losing anytime soon. What do you say?
I think it's going to be really tight. Just to be different, I'm going to say the Buccaneers.
Okay. All right, let's move on to Rams 49ers. Battle in the NFC West. The 49ers coming off a game in which Jimmy G got benched, but he insists he is, quote, the starting quarterback of this team. I'm assuming he gets the start this week. Have you heard anything to the contrary?
That's what I've seen, and as a Rams DST owner, I certainly hope he starts, because I'm gonna reiterate this point. He had a quarterback rating of 15 at one point in last week's game. Okay, 15. That is horrendous. That is terrible.
Yeah.
I mean, I just don't see the 49ers producing at all this game. I maybe their run game, but not their passing game. Not at all.
Yeah, both of these defenses are pretty solid, so I'm not particularly excited about a lot of players here. I think a guy I want to keep an eye on the Rams side is Cam Akers. So he was having just a so-so game, pretty average, inefficient game in his first week back from injury last week until he busted a 42-yarder against that Washington front seven. And talking about in the press conference, Sean McVay came out and said that they want to give him more touches. So he said to expect more touches for Cam Akers against San Francisco this week. San Francisco is giving up the second least fantasy points to running backs, so I'm not expecting a big game for Akers, but I think his usage will be telling of what we should expect from this running back committee that we have going on in LA right now, moving forward, now that Akers is fully healthy, because he had 15 touches in week 1 before getting hurt in week 2, so I don't know. I think that people are expecting this to be a committee you want to avoid all season, but, you know, McVay and his team, his guys, they drafted Akers early. I think maybe they want him to be the guy, and obviously Brown and Henderson are still going to be involved, but I think this week will be really telling as to whether that's true and if they want to make Akers kind of the primary back in this committee.
Yeah, as of right now, I'm going to avoid that running back committee. But I mean, I'm going to wait and see how it pans out. I'm not going to drop anyone in that backfield, obviously, just because whoever does come out of this as the lead back is going to be great, you know, because that Rams offense is potent. It's good. But gonna want to wait on it if I can afford that.
Yeah, 100%. More of a stash and see as opposed to a start this week, and tough matchup. So I completely agree there. On the Niners side, I like Raheem Mostert this week. The Rams do have a tough defense, but I think Mostert is just constantly slept on. Like Jerick McKinnon had 2 touches last week?
Almost nothing.
Yeah. This is Mostert's backfield, and that running scheme, even against a tough defense, opens up holes. So I like Mostert this week to be, a solid running back too. I'd say a high end running back too. And I'm excited just to see him now that he's back at full health, because that guy's fast. He can score on any given play, and I'm personally just a big fan of him. So he and Cam Akers are kind of the guys I'm excited to keep an eye on this week. The rest, I think, in a tough defensive battle is going to be ho-hum.
Yeah, obviously Kittle you can start. 2 questions, Steve. First one, would you start Brandon Ayuk this week?
No, absolutely not.
Would you start Deebo Samuel this week?
Yeah. Deebo, yeah. I mean, he's been slowly worked into a full role. I think maybe this is the week he takes on that full role ever since coming back from injury. But, man, I'm not excited about it. Like, if you have a different option, like I'd much rather play a Laviska Shenault than a Deebo Samuel. The Rams have given up the fewest fantasy points to wide receivers on a weekly basis. You know what? No, I don't want to start Deebo Samuel this week. Rams are a tough defense against receivers. Who knows what's happening at quarterback with the 49ers? Even if Jimmy G is the starter, which I expect, he hasn't looked great. This one's not going to be high scoring. I don't want to start Deebo this week. I think there's enough options at receiver this year to where you're not stuck starting Deebo. If you drafted him, he's probably on your bench anyway. Start somebody else. This is just not a matchup you want.
Okay, and last question. This one might be a position that a lot of people are in. Okay, so you need a player for whatever, fill in for a bye week. You have Jerick McKinnon on your bench. Are you dropping Jerick McKinnon for someone?
Yep, because McKinnon's just a handcuff at this point for Raheem Mostert. And do you really want that? Like, I think there's way more high upside handcuffs out there, given that Tevin Coleman's coming back at some point from injury. So you can drop Jerick McKinnon 100%. He's done.
Agreed. Yeah. All right,
I'm gonna take the Rams in this one, by the way.
Yeah, definitely Rams. Definitely Rams as well. If Garoppolo is starting, if anyone's, I guess none of their quarterbacks would really pull off a win in my opinion, but just don't trust that at all.
Okay. We have Chiefs Bills 4-1 both teams. What are you excited to watch in this one, Tucker?
Everything, man. Everything. Yeah. This is going to be a fun game to watch. These are, 2 of the best quarterbacks this season, as of this season. It's going to be very fun. Buffalo's defense is pretty good. Kansas City's defense has been exceptional. So really, I mean, it's going to be a battle of which offense can really get going. And it seems like both of them can. So definitely, though, the passing games I think are going to be really, really good this game. This game in particular, I think everyone wants to see the Allen Mahomes showdown, and I think that's what they're going to get. Because I think especially they're going to try and force that because they want people to tune into this game and watch it. And if it's just a run game, I mean, people are going to be a lot less interested. So I think they are going to try and force some passes. Hopefully Mahomes can. He's been a little shaky, honestly. So hopefully he can kind of hone things in and be really, really patient in this game and hit his receivers. But Diggs, Tyreek, Singletary, Clyde, all great plays. Kelsey, obviously, they're both quarterbacks. I really do think it's gonna be a shootout.
I think you're starting everyone in this one.
Yeah, everyone you can.
Game has a 57.5 point over under, which leads the league this week. I think Diggs is in a great spot. I really like him. But yeah, I mean, you're starting everybody. I think Kelsey could have a really solid week this week, given that Buffalo's giving up the fourth most fantasy points to tight ends this year per game. So, but you're starting everyone. This is an exciting game. This is a game I'm most excited for this week.
Yeah, definitely. If you saw that Rams Chiefs game a couple years ago where they both scored over 50, I think it's going to be like that. I think it's going to be very similar.
Yeah, that game was sick. I think the Bills will come out angry. The Chiefs are going to come out angry, both coming off losses. I'm pumped for this one. But I'm going to take the Chiefs at the end of the day.
Yeah, I take the Chiefs. I take the Chiefs as well.
Gotta trust Mahomes there. All right, let's move on to our last game of the week. The 3-2 Cardinals at the 2-3 Cowboys. Andy Dalton's first start for Dallas. This one has an over-under of 55 points, so relatively high-scoring game. I think Andy Dalton, like we said, is pretty much going to do a decent job of keeping this offense going. Not particularly excited to start my Cowboys receivers, but as much as I would be with Dak, but I mean, you're still starting Amari Cooper. You could still start CeeDee Lamb. I think this one's just going to be interesting to watch to see what we can really expect. Is that Cowboys offense more run heavy? What do you think it's going to look like with Dalton this week against the Cardinals, Tuck?
Yeah, I definitely think it's going to be run heavy. But I mean, he's still going to have to throw at some point, right? And he's got three great receivers that are going to get open between Gallup, Lamb, and Cooper. He also proved at the end of last game that he likes Gallup. He hit him on a couple nice throws on that final, I think the final drive of the game. And all three of them are going to get open. It's really going to be a matter of who he chooses to pepper with targets. But I think it's going to be very run heavy. I really like Zeke this game. And even keep an eye on Tony Pollard, because there's a chance maybe that they decide to run a lot and Tony Pollard starts getting a couple more carries. So that's definitely, I mean, I still like the Dallas offense, even without Dak. I think they're going to be fine.
Yeah, I think the ceiling is a little bit lower, but Dalton has proven he can be a fine quarterback in the NFL. So I agree with you there. On the Arizona side, I think DeAndre Hopkins is in a smash spot against the defense giving up the second most fantasy points to wide receivers on a per game basis. So love DeAndre Hopkins this week. I think Kyler Murray is a great start in what should be a high scoring game. Yeah, I don't think I want to start Kenyon Drake unless I'm desperate. I mean, at this point, has he given you any reason to have confidence in him outside of, a flex, like a whatever flex play?
I like him as a flex play. I mean, he's still getting volume, and against a bad defense, he could do something. Hopefully he gets a couple of receptions, but that's hard to tell as well. But I do like him in terms of volume at least. Chase Edmonds is a desperation play, but he could get some receptions this game as well. DeAndre Hopkins is going to be insane in this game. I think he's going to feast. play him everywhere you can. Obviously, that's always a thing. But this week, you're going to be very happy as a Hopkins owner.
Yeah, I think with Drake, I think you have him if you have him in season-long leagues. Like, yeah, you probably are stuck starting him in the flex. But I think in DFS, I'm 100% avoiding Drake because I think Chase Edmonds is going to be heavily involved because he's carved out that passing role for himself. And in a high-scoring game where they might be trying to keep up with that Cowboys offense, I think Chase Edmonds could get a heavy role. Maybe he even gets more of those carries too. Like, I think maybe this could be a game where Edmonds further eats into Drake's workload. I think that's much more likely than the opposite, to where Drake totally reverses the trend that we've seen for the past, 3 games. So
Right.
I think I'll have my eyes on that backfield in this one. Hopkins is going to eat. Kyler's a great start. This should be another fun one to watch. It's up there in the high-scoring games of this week. I'm pumped for it.
Yeah, definitely. I would say if Drake doesn't produce this week, this is the week I give up on him. I really give up on him. But I think this is his last shot to really, really prove something. I also like Christian Kirk. I think Christian Kirk's kind of sneaky this week, just against this terrible, terrible Cowboys defense. It's not going to be all Hopkins. Somebody else is going to get the ball, and I think he could go for a touchdown. And I mean, he had the same amount of targets as Hopkins last week, so who knows?
Yeah, we'll see on Kirk. I think this week he definitely has value. I don't love him for season long, but I think against the Cowboys, you love starting receivers against the Cowboys. I think Kirk is a fine flex play. And what's the other thing I was going to say? Oh yeah, Drake. My last week was the week I gave up on Drake because I thought if he doesn't get it done against the Jets, he's not ever getting it done. So, and he didn't have a great game. He had a very average game in a great matchup. I'm out on Drake. I understand why you want to give him one more week, and I agree. I think you can start him, but yeah, I'm out on him being anything close to what we drafted him to be.
Yeah, but I just want to reiterate that there is a reason we drafted him as such. He was really, really good last year in every game. So I don't want to just immediately not immediately, but after 5 games, I guess, move on from him yet. I want to see him in this last matchup because next week he's got Seattle. They're pretty good against the run, not good against the pass. They're going to be throwing a lot next week. So this will be my last hurrah with Drake. He still got 18 carries last week, so I'm not, for sheer volume purposes, I'm not out on him.
Yeah. Totally get that. That's a more than acceptable stance. All right, Tuck, I'm going to take the Cardinals in this one. What about you?
I think I'll take Dallas.
Okay.
Yep.
Cardinals are favored by 2.5, so this should be a fun, high-scoring, relatively close matchup.
You do.
I think we've covered all the games. Hour and 12 minutes, our longest episode yet. Stephen P., if you're still hanging with us, thanks for tuning in and being our first ever viewer. Tuck, any closing thoughts for us before we head into week 6?
It's going to be a fun one. That's all. It's going to be a fun weekend. I'm excited to watch all the games. There's some good ones. There's some bad ones, but hopefully everybody wins some fantasy games this week.
Yeah, we'll have to come back and see how we did in our picks. See who had the better record. That'll be fun. Stephen P., smash that subscribe button. Be our 3rd subscriber outside of us too. And Tuck, I will see you for our week 6 recap when I tell you how wrong you were.
All right, man. Take it easy.
All right. Later, Tuck.
Peace.
Stephen P., peace out.